Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to create this soda can packaging. We're gonna recreate this design. I also have a few flavor variations of the same packaging and we will be creating all of them. This is going to be a longer in-depth tutorial, but I will also edit a shorter version and put it on my YouTube channel. Alright, so open up Illustrator, click on New File, and this is where you enter the dimensions of your packaging. So set the orientation to landscape and change the units to centimeters. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to Google soda can packaging sizes. So you can find a lot of the dimensions online. If you're working with a client, you can ask them what the dimension of their label is. If they don't have a dimension, you can ask for the size of the can and then just Google the standard sizes. But most likely they will give you a size, so you don't need to worry about that. I'll change this back to inches. You can also find this in centimeters if you want. And for the color mode, I'm going to keep it on RGB, but if you are working on a real life packaging, make sure to change it to CMYK, since this is the color mode that is used for printed stuff. But personally, I'm not going to print out this specific packaging. That's why I'm going to keep it on RGB, because RGB gives like more vibrant colors, but those colors will only show up on screen, they won't show up in print. For the sake of this video, I'm keeping it on RGB. As for the resolution, we're going to keep it on 300 ppi. You have to keep it on 300 if you're printing it out, but if it's going to be a screen only project, the standard for screens is 72 ppi. You can also keep it on 150. With this project, everything that we'll be making is completely vector based, so it really doesn't matter if you keep it on 72 ppi, because even if the resolution is small, you can scale it up later and it won't lose the quality because we are working in vector shapes. But I'm just going to keep it on 300. Now I'm going to click create and we have an artboard ready. So I'm just going to compare it to the previous packaging that we already made, and I think the dimensions are slightly different, so I think I'll adjust it a little bit. So if you already have your file open like me, the way you can change the dimensions now is you don't have to close the file and make a new file. You just need to go to the artboard tool. So you can select artboards and you can even draw new artboards with this. I'm going to Control Z those. But I want to change the dimension, so if you go up here you can find the width and the height. This is not what you need to change, this is only the location of the artboard. You need to change the width and the height, and that's right here. So I'll change my height to 4.5 inches. Also, if your workspace doesn't look like mine does, you can go up here, switch workspace and click Essentials Classic. I think if you are opening up Illustrator for the first time, it will be on Essentials, which looks like this. And if there's any tool that you want to find which you cannot find in your default toolbar, click on the three dots over here. And if there is any window that you can't find, you can go to window and then just like scroll down till you find what you need. But I just like working with the Essentials Classic layout better. Now we need to create a background, so go to rectangle and you can drag out the rectangle like this, or what you can do is click once and you'll get this dimension dialog box and you can just enter your dimensions directly. So I'm going to go with 8, 4.5. okay, I don't want the stroke here. This is where you change the color. I don't need the stroke, so I'm going to click on this for none, and whichever of these is in front will be the color that will get changed. So if I have this in front and I click somewhere on this color bar, it'll change the fill color. If I have this one in front and I click one of these, you can see the stroke color gets changed. And you can also click down here to change it back to black and white, but right now I don't need the stroke, so I'm going to click on none, bring the fill forward, and I'm going to change the color of this to something of a light yellow. I'm going to align this to center. So if you cannot find this, what you can do is go to window align, and this whole window will pop out. So you basically need to align your rectangle horizontally and vertically. Let me just go back here and check what color I previously used. So if you double click on your fill color, you can get the color codes of the color that is selected. So this is the color code for the color that I've used in this packaging, and I'm going to use the same one here. So I'm going to click a rectangle, double click, and add in this color. Okay, so next thing that we're going to do is we'll set up some guides for our artboard. So I'm going to click on the rectangle tool again. This time I'm going to put 0.5 by 0.5 inch. Okay, I'm just going to give it a white fill, and I'm going to align this one to the top left corner, and then I'm going to duplicate this. So the way you duplicate a shape, you can either do Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and that will copy paste a shape, or you can do Ctrl C and Ctrl F, and that will paste an object right on top of the object you copied. Or you can select an object, hold Alt and drag it out. So that's how you duplicate shapes. And now I'm going to align these to all four corners of the artboard, and then I'm going to drag a guide from above. If you can't see these rulers, go to View, Rulers, and click Show Rulers, and you will get these bars on the top and the left, and you can drag down guides onto your artboard using these. So now I'm going to select a guide, hold Shift, select one of these shapes, and click once on the shape, and then I'm going to click bottom align. Now I'm going to align all the guides in the same way and delete the white rectangles. So these guides won't show up in your final packaging. These are basically invisible. These are just for your eye to see. And if you want to see your packaging without the guides, what you can do is go to View, Trim View, and the guides will disappear. If you want to bring them back, go View and then uncheck. I'm gonna drag a few more guides and align them to all four sides of the artboard. If you do not select the key object and click on any of the align buttons, it will automatically assume that the key object is the artboard. I'm also gonna select these two guides, hold Alt and drag them out, so we have a duplicate of the same guide. And these guides are not placed exactly at the center, they are placed a little towards the left because we need more space for the back of the packaging. Just so you can see the guides properly, I'm just going to change this to black. So this is the layout that I have currently. This is where you will have the front of the packaging, this is where you'll have the back of the packaging. I might change the spacing a little bit here and there, but this is the basic layout that we are going to work with. This is a good time to save your file because you don't want Illustrator crashing and you don't want to lose all your progress. So go to File, Save As, and save your file. If you have a Creative Cloud subscription, you can save it onto the cloud or you can save it onto your computer. I like to save most of my files to the Creative Cloud because then it doesn't take up space on your computer and it automatically saves your file without you having to manually save it. So that's what I use mostly, but you can just save on your computer. Alright, now let's work on the front of the packaging. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a quick logo. I'm going to click on the text tool, click once, and I will add in my text. The brand name is going to be Soda Pop. Okay, I'm going to change the font to this one. It's called Grit. I don't know how you pronounce it, but I believe this is a free for commercial use font. I'm going to search Grit font. I'll go to one of these sites. Here you can see who it's designed by, you can see the license, and it is free for commercial use, so I can use it in a professional project. Okay, so here's another font. So this one has a license free for personal use. So this means that you need to buy the font before you use it. You cannot use this font without buying a license. If a font has a free for personal use license, it probably means that it's a demo of a paid font. If you find a paid font like this online, you can probably also find a demo of it somewhere. A demo is basically a preview of a font. It might not have all the characters, it might have some characters missing, but it's basically for people to test out the font before they can decide whether they want the full font or not. You can use the demo in your personal projects, but just make sure not to use it in any commercial project or anything that you're getting paid for. So this is the website to buy this particular font, and you can select any one of these based on like where you're using it. So if you're using it on a website, you can go with this one. I think for us graphic designers, this is probably the license to use. I have a folder called fonts, and I have sorted my fonts into personal use and commercial use. So I know that all these fonts are free and all of these fonts are paid. I would highly recommend you sorting your fonts like this so you don't have to like check the license each time. Okay, now back to our document. So this is the font that we will be using for our logo. So I don't want it to be set so close together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the tracking. So the space between the letters is called the tracking, and I'm going to set it to like 50. And I also think that this font is slightly thick. Like I want it to be a little thinner. Some fonts will have weight options like light, regular, semi-bold, bold. But in case you're working with a font which doesn't have all that, here's a little hack that I like to use. So I like to select the font, make sure the stroke is in front, click the eyedropper tool, hold shift and select the background color. The eyedropper tool copies the properties of one object to another object. So if I want to change the stroke color by copying the color from an object with a fill, if I directly try to click on it using the eyedropper tool, it will copy the fill properties also. But if you hold shift, it will only change the color of your stroke. It won't change your object into a fill. So that's why you should remember to hold shift while trying to only copy the color. So for example, if I hold shift and click on the background, I will have a gray stroke. Now if you feel like the stroke made it extremely thin, you can kind of change the stroke weight up here. You can also use this same method to make the font thicker. So if I select the inside color, I can make it as thick as I want, but I don't really want that. So for the fill color, I want to set it to a blue. So double click on your fill. So the color that I've used in the original packaging is this. You can copy the code. So I know that I won't be editing this text again, so I'm going to expand this whole text. Go to object, expand, make sure both of these are selected and click OK. So what this does is that it makes the text non-editable. So now I cannot change the letters of this. All the letters are now shapes and you cannot change them anymore. So if your font accidentally gets deleted off your computer, or if you open the same file in a different computer, you don't need to install the font again. If text is not expanded, however, it will automatically change the font to whatever font is available. So make sure to expand all your text in a packaging design file. So the way I'm zooming into the artboard is by clicking Ctrl+ on my keyboard, or you can also select the zoom tool right here and click once to zoom in. If you hold Alt, you can see that the plus button changes to a minus and you can zoom out. But I really like using the shortcut Ctrl+ and Ctrl-. I think it's very convenient. And you can use your scroll wheel to scroll around. You can click and drag the scroll button to pan around. So that's how you navigate. Okay, so I'm going to align the text to this guide. Okay, now I want to align this text inside this rectangle, so that is between these two guides. So I'm going to show you a couple methods to do this. Also, you don't have to change the background to black. I just changed it so you can see the guides better. So one thing you can do is you can draw a rectangle like inside this guide. I'm going to use a different color for this so you can like see it properly. And now I'm going to move these two to the very back, and a quick shortcut to do that is to click Ctrl-Shift and right bracket. So I selected both the rectangles and hit Ctrl-Shift right square bracket to bring them to the very back. You can also use the layers panel. Go to Windows, layers, and you can drag like your font to the back or the front. You can select the guides, you can lock the guides. You can do a lot in the layers panel, but I really don't use it too much, but it could be very helpful for beginners. So if you want, you can open it up for easier navigation. Okay, but basically I want to align this to the center of this sections. So we're going to select both the objects, and then we're going to click on the rectangle once. So this makes the rectangle the key object. And now if you click center align, the font will be aligned to the center of the rectangle. So for the second method, delete the rectangle and we will distribute the text in between the guides. So I'm gonna select our font, and I'll also select these two guides. And now if I go to window, align, and bring out the align panel, there is an option here called horizontal distribute space, and I'll click that, and this will basically give equal spacing between all three objects, making our text completely center aligned. So those are two methods to align your objects. Alright, I'm going to increase the size of this just a little, line it again. Okay, so now we're going to sort of break a design rule. So I honestly don't recommend people to do this early on in their design career. Don't do this to every single font that you find, but with certain fonts like the font that we have here, I guess you could break this design rule. So we are going to stretch our text. So I have a few fonts right here, and as you can see, some of these fonts don't look too good when they are stretched. Some of them look okay. With narrow and tall fonts like the font that I have here, when you stretch it vertically, it still retains a lot of the font qualities, and it's not really distorting the font too much. And we want to create a really cool curved text effect. So in this case, I am going to stretch this text a little bit, but I really don't recommend that you do this to like any font that you find. It will only work under certain circumstances. So just keep that in mind while working with fonts. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I will create a rectangle. So this is just going to be a guide so that we can shape our logo. So what I want to do is I want a curved baseline. So some of these letters in the middle, they will be smaller and the others will be like slightly taller. So we have like a curved baseline, but we need a guide for it. That's why I've just like drawn a rectangle, and I will curve the bottom of this. So the way I'm gonna do that is I'm going to go and long press on the pen tool and click the anchor point tool. This is a highly underrated tool and I don't see people using this often, but basically what you can do with this is you can directly select the sides of your shape and manipulate them directly. Usually when you want to change the shape of a line or an object, we use the direct selection tool. So we select the corners and then click the Bezier handles to manipulate the shape. But with the anchor point tool, you can directly select the path. So that's why I really like using this tool. So I'm going to select the bottom of the rectangle and drag it upwards. I'm also going to change this to stroke so I can see it better. And I will drag it to our guide like this. Now I'm going to use the direct selection tool to select both the corners of my shape. So click and then shift click to select them both. And I'm going to drag them upwards. So sometimes when you use the anchor point tool, you might not be able to curve it up perfectly symmetrical. The way you can make sure that both the sides of your shapes are exactly symmetrical is you can draw another line, select both, click this to align them to the center, and I'm just going to like change this one to fill. Select both, click on the shape builder tool, hold Alt and subtract one side. So the shape builder tool allows you to cut objects. So if there are overlapping objects, it helps you to cut like whatever is overlapping. Now I'm going to right click, transform, reflect, copy, and I will select the line, click the line once, left align. So now we have an almost symmetrical shape. Both of the sides are absolutely identical. You can join them using the shape builder tool, just drag it across. Now you'll have an anchor point right at the center. You can use the direct selection tool to manipulate that. So yeah, that's how you get a perfectly symmetrical shape. Okay, I'm going to align the object to the text, center align. Okay, now we'll stretch the text. So your font is most likely grouped together, so what you can do is double click to enter this group. So you cannot select anything else in the background. The only thing that you can work on is the objects inside the group, and you can manipulate them individually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch this like so. I'm trying to follow the baseline of the curve right here. Alright, to exit out of the group, just click here. Now our logo looks slightly more interesting than just the plain text. So we're done with the logo, and now we'll move on to the illustration.